warning no one heard. The morning sun crept slowly over the horizon, casting a soft golden hue across Los Angeles International Airport. The glass windows reflected the awakening city, and inside Terminal 4, people bustled with tired faces and coffee cups in hand. They pulled heavy suitcases behind them, checked departure boards, and rushed through security checkpoints. Keanu Reeves sat quietly in a corner of the first-class lounge, dressed simply in a dark hoodie and jeans, sipping tea and reading a small, weathered book. He had chosen not to wear sunglasses today. He preferred to observe the world through his own eyes. Just a few seats away, a young boy, maybe 10 or 11 years old, sat with his backpack hugged tight to his chest. His shoes were scuffed, his t-shirt too thin for the air-conditioned chill of the airport. His name was Malik. He had curly hair, deep brown eyes full of fire, and a notebook full of drawings and ideas. His mother sat next to him, softly humming a lullaby and flipping through an old magazine. Malik kept glancing nervously at the big window that faced the tarmac. He had been watching the ground crew work on the plane that was scheduled to fly to New York in 2 hours. Flight 782 Keanu would be on that plane. Malik noticed something odd. One of the mechanics had dropped a tool near the landing gear. Another man picked it up but didn't hand it back. Instead, he tucked it into his vest pocket and walked away. The man didn't wear the standard uniform Malik had been watching all morning. Something about his movement, the way he looked around. It made Malik's stomach twist. He nudged his mom. "Mom, something's wrong with that plane." She smiled, half listening. "We're not going on that flight, baby." "But that, man, he wasn't supposed to be there." "Malik, stop imagining stories." He fell silent, but he couldn't shake it. 20 feet away, Keanu looked up from his book. He had heard the boy's voice. Something about it held weight. He closed the book, leaned back in his chair, and watched the boy out of the corner of his eye. Malik opened his notebook and started sketching. He drew the landing gear, the man with the vest, the missing tool, the plane's tail number. His hands moved fast, like they were trying to warn him before it was too late. His heart pounded. He knew stories, sure. He loved to imagine. But this wasn't fiction. This felt real. They called for boarding. People stood up. The flight crew walked to the gate with polished smiles. Keanu moved toward the boarding line, still watching Malik. The boy stood too, clenching his notebook. Then something snapped in Malik's chest, something deep and urgent. He shouted. The plane was sabotaged. Someone messed with it. Every sound in the terminal seemed to freeze. Silence spread like a wave. Heads turned. People frowned. Some scoffed. A security guard rushed over. "Hey, young man, lower your voice. You can't yell things like that in an airport." Malik's mother pulled him back. "I'm so sorry. He just has a wild imagination." But Malik's voice rose again, louder this time, trembling with fear. "I saw him. The man in the wrong uniform. He did something under the plane. It's not safe." A few passengers laughed nervously. Others stepped away. Keanu didn't laugh. He stepped forward, looked straight at the boy, and asked gently, "Can you show me what you saw?" The guard shook his head. "Sir, you don't have to get involved." But Keanu ignored him. Malik opened his notebook and flipped to the drawing. He pointed out the exact spot near the landing gear. Keanu leaned in. The details were sharp. Too sharp to be a simple guess. Keanu turned to the security guard. "Get your head of ground crew on this. Right now, sir." "I'm not asking. I'm saying if that boy's right and we ignore him, there might be lives on the line." The manager of the lounge, recognizing Keanu, quickly placed a call to airport operations. Within minutes, technicians were swarming the plane. Passengers were told there would be a slight delay due to maintenance. No one panicked. They just rolled their eyes and made more coffee runs. Keanu walked back to Malik, knelt beside him, and said, "You did something very brave." Malik's eyes were wide. He couldn't believe someone had listened. Then came the news. The ground team had found a suspicious device fastened under the wing, something that didn't belong to the plane's standard wiring. An investigation had begun. The FBI had been called in. Malik's mother gasped, covering her mouth. She turned to her son with tears forming. "You were right. You were really right." The terminal burst into whispers. People looked at the boy like he had just come from a movie. Keanu stood beside him, one hand on his shoulder, steady and proud. That was when a news crew showed up. They had gotten word from a ground employee who leaked the alert. Someone had tried to sabotage a commercial flight. The boy who saw it had stopped the takeoff. They asked questions. Cameras rolled, but Malik didn't care about the attention. He only looked up at Keanu and asked softly, "What would have happened if no one listened?" Keanu paused. "Then I wouldn't be here to thank you." That moment, one boy, one truth, one life-changing decision, would ripple far beyond the walls of the airport. But this was just the beginning, because what they were about to uncover would go far deeper than anyone imagined. Deeper than the runway. After the bomb squad removed the device, the plane was towed to a secure hangar. Airport operations suspended all flights from Terminal 4 for the next hour. No one had expected the words of a child to ground a major flight, but now everyone was asking, how did he know? Inside a small holding room, Malik sat quietly beside his mother. She clutched his hand tightly, still shaken. They had been questioned by 2 TSA officers, a female agent from airport security, and now someone from the FBI was on the way. KeanuReeves waited outside the room, pacing gently. He had spoken to the manager of the airport, insisting that the boy be treated with respect and care. His voice, always calm, carried unexpected weight. The news had begun to spread. News alerts mentioned a young witness and a possible act of domestic sabotage. No names had been released yet, but Keanu's involvement had already drawn attention. An officer stepped out of the room and approached Keanu. "Mr. Reeves," he said, "the boy's story matches the surveillance footage. We saw the man Malik described. He slipped past one of the inspection teams disguised as part of the maintenance crew. He placed something beneath the wing and walked away casually. No one questioned him." Keanu nodded slowly. "And you still think this kid just made it up?" The officer paused. "Honestly, he probably just saved over 200 lives." Keanu leaned against the wall and let out a breath. Back inside the room, Malik stared at the floor. His mother whispered, "I'm so proud of you. But I don't understand. How did you know it was wrong? How could you see something the adults didn't?" Malik's voice was quiet but clear. "I watch everything, Mom. I learn the patterns. That guy, he didn't move like the others. He wasn't lifting tools right. His vest was missing a tag, and he kept looking over his shoulder." His mom blinked. "You noticed all that?" Malik nodded. "I always notice, even when people think I don't." A few minutes later, the FBI agent arrived. She was tall, wore a dark suit, and introduced herself as Agent Danica Thorne. Her voice was smooth, but her eyes were sharp. She knelt down to Malik's eye level. "Hi, Malik," she said softly. "I heard you did something very brave today." He nodded, nervous. "Can I ask you a few questions? You don't have to answer anything you're not comfortable with." He looked at his mom. She gave a small nod. Danica opened a small folder and placed the printed sketch Malik had drawn beside a photograph. "Did the man you saw look like this?" Malik studied it. He frowned. "The chin is wrong. The guy I saw had a scar right here." He pointed below the man's lip. Danica blinked. "You noticed that too?" "Yes," Malik said. "He also walked with a limp, on the left side." Danica leaned back, surprised. "We didn't catch that on camera." Malik pulled out his notebook again. He had drawn the man walking, even showing which foot led. The sketch was childlike, but the posture and angles were stunning. Danica turned to Keanu, who had been allowed in now. "This kid has the eyes of a trained profiler." Keanu smiled slightly. "Or maybe we just don't give enough credit to those who see the world differently." Keanu then knelt by Malik. "You remind me of someone," he said. "Someone who always looked closer than others did." Malik's eyes lit up. "Who?" "My sister," Keanu said softly. "She used to see things no one else noticed. She would have liked you." Malik smiled. For the first time that day, his shoulders relaxed. Danica stood up. "We need to move you both to a safer location. If this is what it looks like, there may be others involved, and they may not be happy the plot was stopped. Malik's mother tensed. Are we in danger? Danica answered honestly. Not if we're smart. You've just become witnesses in what could be a major investigation. Keanu stepped in. They can stay with me. Everyone in the room looked at him. Danica raised an eyebrow. Mr. Reeves, with all due respect, I have the space, the security, and the team to make sure they're safe. Keanu said calmly, This boy saved all of us. It's the least I can do. Danica didn't argue. That night, Malik and his mother were driven in an unmarked car to Keanu's home outside the city. It wasn't a mansion. It was peaceful, with tall trees, a quiet garden, and a warm glow from the windows. Malik stepped out of the car and stared. You live here? He asked in awe. Keanu laughed gently. Yeah, it's home. Come in. They were given separate rooms. Malik's room had a big window and a shelf full of books. Most were about stories, science, or solving mysteries. As night settled, Malik lay in bed staring at the ceiling. He still couldn't believe what had happened. Keanu knocked once and stepped inside. Can't sleep. Malik shook his head. You want to know a secret? Keanu asked. Sure. I get nervous on planes too. Malik smiled. But you're John Wick. Keanu laughed. Even John Wick gets scared. And today, you were the brave one. Malik looked down. Do you think they'll come after me? Keanu's expression turned serious. I don't know, but I promise you this. I won't let anyone hurt you, ever. Malik nodded. Thank you for listening, he said. No one else did. Keanu stood up. Sometimes the world needs a voice brave enough to speak, even when no one listens. And sometimes that voice comes from the one we least expect. As he left the room, Keanu glanced back once more, his face full of quiet respect. He didn't know it yet, but this boy, this quiet, brilliant boy, was about to change his life in more ways than one. Because the man who planted the device wasn't finished yet, and Malik had just made himself the biggest target of all. The shadow on the screen the next morning came quietly. Birds chirped outside Keanu's home as soft sunlight spread across the wooden floors. Malik sat at the breakfast table, still in his pajamas, staring at the steam rising from a bowl of oatmeal. His mother sat close by, sipping tea, her fingers wrapped tight around the mug. Keanu Reeves entered the kitchen with a gentle smile, holding a small plate of sliced fruit. You okay, buddy? Malik nodded, but his eyes didn't leave the bowl. I just kept thinking about the plane all night. What if I didn't say anything? Keanu sat across from him. But you did. And because of you, everyone's safe. It's okay to feel scared. That's what courage is. Doing the right thing even when you're scared. Malik finally looked up. Thanks for believing me. Keanu leaned forward. Anytime. Just then, the front door camera triggered a soft chime. Keanu's head turned slightly. His security system, built quietly into the house, had detected someone at the edge of the property. He tapped the screen on his phone. Nothing appeared. Just bushes, trees, wind. Keanu frowned. He didn't like unexplained things. He stood and headed to the security room. Hidden behind a bookshelf, it had several monitors showing angles from every side of the house. Motion alerts blinked. He clicked to replay the footage. Frame by frame, he saw it. A shadow. Brief, barely noticeable. A man in a hoodie watching the house from behind a tree, then slipping away. Keanu's jaw tightened. Within minutes, he called Danica Thorne. We have a watcher. On the other end, her voice sharpened. Send me the footage. I'll have agents there in 15. Keanu hung up, but didn't tell Malik or his mother yet. They deserved peace this morning, but he knew now that this wasn't over. Whoever planted the device had already started watching again. They were checking if Malik had recognized too much, and if he had, that made him a threat. When Danica arrived, she was in a different suit, her hair tied back, her badge more visible this time. We ran the prints from the device, she said quickly as they gathered in the study. It's military grade, Someone knew what they were doing. This wasn't a prank. This was a full attempt to bring down a commercial plane. And your kid here? She glanced at Malik. May have seen more than even he realizes. Malik looked confused. What do you mean? Danica placed a printed photo on the table. This is our suspect. His name is Russell Korn. Former contractor for an aircraft maintenance firm. Discharged after a nervous breakdown. Disappeared 2 years ago. He's been on a watch list ever since. Keanu stared at the photo. Why would he target that flight? Danica shrugged. That's what we're trying to figure out. But he's not working alone. And now he knows Malik saw him. Malik swallowed hard. His mother reached out, placing a hand over his. Danica continued. We're going to take you both to a safer location, something off-grid. No digital trails. You'll be safe until we get Russell and anyone he's working with. Keanu interrupted. They stay here. I can protect them. Danica hesitated. This is serious, Keanu. You're a target too now. Keanu's voice was steady. I've been a target before. Just then, Malik's ears perked up. He stood, walked to the security monitor, and tapped the rewind button. That man, he whispered. He's not just watching. Everyone leaned in. Malik hit pause. He pointed at a tiny silver object near the tree where the man had stood. That's a transmitter. Keanu blinked. How can you tell? Because I've seen them. Online. My uncle's in the Air Force. He showed me once. Danica zoomed in. She squinted. He's right. Malik added. He's listening. Maybe to everything we're saying. Keanu looked around the room. We need to sweep the house. Now. Within minutes, Danica's agents swept through every inch of the property. They found 2 listening devices. One planted near a window, the other buried beneath a porch light. Danica's face darkened. They've been here longer than we thought. She turned to her team. We're burning the plan. Evac now. Keanu stepped in front of Malik. No. Danica's voice rose. This is bigger than you, Keanu. If something happens to this boy, to you. Keanu looked her straight in the eye. You think running will keep him safe? They'll find him anywhere. The only way out is through. Malik spoke quietly. We need to know why they targeted that flight. Danica sighed. We have no idea. It wasn't a political figure. No military cargo, just regular passengers. Keanu's eyes narrowed. What if it wasn't about what was on the plane? What do you mean? What if it was about who was supposed to be on it? The room fell silent. Keanu leaned on the table. I was booked last minute. But someone knew I'd be on board. Danica's eyes widened. You think you were the target? Or someone else who didn't board? Malik's notebook was already open. He flipped pages furiously. He had drawn some of the passengers in line. He paused on one sketch, an older man in a sharp suit, speaking quietly on a phone. This guy, Malik said. He looked important, and he left the line, right before boarding. Danica grabbed the drawing. We'll run this face through facial recognition. Within 30 minutes, she had a match. Deputy Chief Hamilton. Intelligence Services, off-duty. Wasn't even supposed to fly that day. Booked last second. He canceled his seat just 10 minutes before boarding. Keanu's voice dropped. They weren't after me, Danica whispered. They were after him. Malik stared at the sketch. He saw someone. Maybe the same man I did. Danica stood, grabbing her phone. We're opening a secondary investigation. Malik, you just gave us the final piece we needed. Keanu looked down at the boy, pride in his eyes. Malik had not just stopped a tragedy. He had just uncovered a plot against a government official. As sirens wailed in the distance, signaling the arrival of backup, Danica said one last thing before walking out to coordinate with her team. This boy is a genius. If we had more like him, this world would be a lot safer. But even with the discovery, the danger wasn't over, because Russell Korn was still out there. And now that he knew Malik, could identify him, he was coming back to finish what he started. The trap they didn't see coming. The sun dipped low over the hills as a soft orange glow covered Keanu's backyard. Birds quieted, and wind rustled through the tall trees. But inside the house, Silence held a different weight. Tense, alert, waiting. Malik sat at the living room table, a map spread out before him. His pencil traced over flight paths, security patrols, and sketches he had drawn from memory. Across from him sat Keanu, watching closely. Every so often, Keanu's eyes drifted to the windows. Agent Danica Thorne entered the room, phone to her ear. "We traced Russell's last ping," she said, lowering her voice. "An abandoned airfield outside Bakersfield. No traffic, no signals. Since yesterday, we think he's circling back. His car was seen 2 miles from here about 30 minutes ago." Malik's mother froze. Keanu's voice was low but calm. "He's hunting." Danica nodded. "He's not just after Malik now. He knows we're close to figuring out the whole thing." Keanu turned to Malik. "Tell me again, what did you see on his hand?" Malik looked down. It was a ring, not like a wedding one. It had a symbol like a circle with a line through it. "I drew it." He flipped a page in his notebook and pointed. Danica stepped closer. "I know this symbol. It's a seal, old intel. A group called Black Veil. Ex-contractors. They work off-grid. Not for a country. For money." Keanu's face darkened. "And now they're silencing witnesses." Danica's voice dropped. "They've done worse." Malik looked up. "Then let's make them come to us." Everyone turned to the boy. "What are you thinking?" Keanu asked. Malik leaned forward. "We let them think we're running. We plant a decoy. But we stay here and watch. Catch them trying to break in. Get their faces. Prove who they are." His mother gasped. "No, that's too dangerous." Malik took her hand. "Mom, they're already watching us. Hiding won't stop them, but if we catch them, we can stop them for good." Danica hesitated. "It's risky. He's just a kid." Keanu stepped in. "He's right. We control the ground. We've got the cameras, the security, the escape plan. If we do this smart, we can end this." An hour later, the house appeared dark from the outside. The car was gone, parked several miles away. Keanu's guest room lights flickered as if someone moved inside. It was a decoy, heat sensors, body-sized pillows, and a speaker playing quiet conversation. Meanwhile, Malik, his mother, Keanu, and Danica were in a hidden crawl space below the study, watching live footage from security cams. "Zone 3, movement," Danica whispered. Camera feed flickered. A figure approached the back fence, crouched, moving slow. Another came from the east, carrying something in a black bag. Both wore dark clothes, faces partially covered. Malik's breath quickened. "That's him, the one with the limp." Keanu nodded. Danica tapped her radio. "Team 2, hold positions." From hidden stations near the house, federal agents in plain clothes watched silently. The 2 intruders reached the house. They pulled out tools. One started disabling the camera on the porch. "Wait," Malik whispered. "They're heading toward the window, not the door." Keanu narrowed his eyes. "They're trying to avoid the entry sensors," he said. But they didn't know Keanu had upgraded every part of the house. Motion sensors, thermal trackers, sound capture, everything. As the man with the limp raised his crowbar, sirens exploded across the yard. Floodlights snapped on, agents moved in. "Hands where we can see them, get down." The 2 men turned, bolting toward the woods. But they didn't make it far. Danica burst out the back door, her weapon drawn. Keanu followed, eyes focused. One suspect was caught instantly. The other, Russell, tried to climb the fence. But halfway up, he stopped. A voice called from behind him. "Russell," said Keanu, calm but loud. "He's 10 years old and he still beat you." Russell turned slowly. His eyes met Keanu's. And in that moment, something broke in him. He dropped to the ground. Agents rushed in. Within minutes, both men were cuffed, and the backyard was lit with red and blue flashes. Malik and his mother stepped out slowly, guided by a female agent. Keanu knelt beside the boy. "You okay?" Malik nodded, wide-eyed. Danica walked over, shaking her head. "You've got guts, kid, and a mind sharper than half the people in my department." Malik looked at the fallen men. Why did they want to hurt people? Why do people do things like that? Danica's expression softened. Sometimes they think power is more important than life. They think fear is the only way to be heard. Malik frowned. But they were wrong. Keanu stood. Very wrong. One of the agents approached. We recovered their phones, encrypted, but with the right tools, we'll break them. We'll know who else is in their group. Thanks to this kid, we're about to stop something much bigger. Malik's mother held him close, tears in her eyes. You saved lives, Malik. You really did. Keanu looked at Danica. What happens now? She exhaled. We take them in, bring this to justice, and we protect Malik, for as long as it takes. But for Malik, the real reward wasn't safety. It was the feeling that someone had finally heard him, believed him, trusted him. The world had tried to dismiss his voice. But now it was echoing through the halls of justice. He had stood up for what was right, and it wasn't over yet. Because deep in a dark room, somewhere, far from the hills of Los Angeles, someone else was watching. A voice on the phone whispered, Plan failed. The boy knows too much. Prepare phase 2. The voice in the dark 2 days later. The air around Keanu's home had returned to something like normal, but only on the surface. Malik sat on a wooden bench in the backyard garden, quietly flipping through a thick book on electronics and signals. It had been gifted to him by Danica, who said, You might as well learn what you're already better at than half our tech team. His mother watched from a nearby window. Every time Malik disappeared from her sight, even for a moment, her heart tightened. Keanu Reeves stood near the trees speaking on a secure phone line. Yes, the two they caught have confessed, but it's bigger. They were working for someone else. Someone who stayed hidden. He paused. No, I'm not backing out. I'll protect him until this is over. He hung up, turned, and saw Malik watching him. You think they're coming back? Malik asked quietly. Keanu walked over and sat beside him. They might, he said honestly. But we're not afraid of them anymore. Malik nodded slowly, but inside something still felt off. Something deeper than fear. A puzzle missing a single dangerous piece. Later that evening, Danica arrived with updates. She spread several documents across the kitchen table. Russell's phone decrypted this morning, she said. It contained messages from someone only, listed as vigil, military-style orders, encrypted voice memos. One of them was a Plan B. Keanu leaned forward. What kind of Plan B? Danica hesitated. An attack. Not on a plane this time. On a person. Keanu's eyes narrowed. Who? Danica's lips pressed tight. Malik. The room went silent. His mother gasped and covered her mouth. Malik froze. Danica continued. They said if the boy breathes, we're at risk. Those were the exact words. Keanu stood and paced. Malik spoke up. They're scared of what I know. Yes, Danica said. You saw Russell. You made the connection to Deputy Chief Hamilton. You're the reason they're being hunted now. Keanu looked straight at her. So what's the next move? Danica pulled out a small device. We traced one of the recordings. Not the content, just the origin. It came from a relay tower near San Diego, and from there bounced across 3 servers. But one of them pinged off a private data node belonging to a tech company. Which one? Keanu asked. Danica held up a badge. Nova Systems. And guess who owns it? Keanu stared. Deputy Chief Hamilton? Danica nodded. That's right, the man who was supposed to be on that flight. The man who canceled at the last minute. Malik whispered. He's not the target. He's the one who planned it. Keanu's voice was steady, but hard, and now he wants to erase the one person who knows too much. Danica stood up. We're going after him tonight, but we need Malik's help. Malik blinked. Me? Danica looked at him carefully. You saw him in person. We can't arrest a top-level intelligence official on guesses. We need confirmation. Your word paired with surveillance gives us the legal ground. Malik looked at his mother. It's your choice, she said softly. But I believe in you. He swallowed hard, then nodded. I'll help. That night, they drove in a black SUV toward downtown Los Angeles. Malik sat between Keanu and Danica, wearing a black hoodie and cap. Cameras in the van displayed satellite feeds and building schematics. Nova Systems' corporate tower stood tall and quiet. A few lights still glowed on the top floor. He works late, Danica said. Alone. High security. We've tapped the elevator, but only he has the key for level 49. Keanu asked, You ready for this, Malik? Malik looked up. I was born ready. They entered through the basement garage with forged clearance codes. The elevator ride was silent. Cold. As the doors opened to level 49, a hallway stretched ahead, lined with glass walls and sleek black furniture. At the far end stood a man in a tailored suit pouring a drink, Deputy Chief Hamilton. He didn't look surprised when they entered. Mr. Reeves, he said calmly, Agent Thorne, and the boy. I expected you. Danica stepped forward. You're under investigation for conspiracy to commit domestic terrorism and attempted murder. Hamilton raised a glass. Interesting accusations. Proof? Keanu stepped aside. Malik walked forward. I saw you at the airport. You left right before boarding. You saw Russell. You gave him the signal. Hamilton tilted his head. And who are you? Some poor child dragged into politics? Malik didn't flinch. I'm the reason your plan failed, and I'm not afraid of you. Hamilton's smile faded. Danica held up a small device. We recorded everything, including this conversation. Your voice just confirmed the messages from your server. Hamilton's eyes darted. For a moment his hand twitched toward a drawer, but Keanu was faster. In one smooth move, he crossed the room and slammed the drawer shut. Don't, he said quietly. Hamilton backed away. Seconds later, Danica's team burst in, weapons drawn. Hamilton was arrested on the spot. Outside in the van, Malik leaned against his mother. The city lights blinked through the window, far away now. Danica spoke from the front seat. You did it, Malik. You just brought down a traitor hiding in plain sight. Malik didn't smile. He just whispered, How many others are like him? Keanu looked at him with quiet pride. Hopefully fewer now. Because of you. The van turned onto a quiet road, but Malik looked out the window, eyes focused on the world beyond. He had learned something big. The truth is never easy. But one voice, just one, can shake even the most powerful lies. And his voice, it had just changed everything. The boy who changed the world weeks had passed since the arrest of Deputy Chief Hamilton. News anchors across the world told the same story. How a young boy at the airport had seen something no one else noticed, spoke up, and stopped a terrible tragedy. His name was now known in circles far beyond his small world. Malik, the boy who saved a plane and helped expose a hidden traitor. But to Malik, life hadn't gone back to normal, and maybe it never would. He still woke some nights thinking about the sound of the plane engines, the weight of being ignored, the way people had stared at him that day in the airport, some with disbelief, others with fear. Keanu Reeves sat with him on the back porch one afternoon as the wind rustled the trees. Malik held a cup of hot cocoa. He didn't say much. You've been quiet lately, Keanu said gently. Malik looked up. It just doesn't feel over. Keanu nodded. Sometimes it doesn't, even when it is. People still look at me weird, Malik said, like I'm a hero or some kind of machine. Keanu chuckled softly. You're not a machine. You're a kid with a gift, and you used it to do something no adult in that terminal did. You spoke up. Malik frowned. What if next time no one listens? Keanu leaned back. Then you speak louder, or smarter, or find someone who will. The point is, you don't give up. That evening, Danica Thorne arrived with news. She had that half-smile she wore when something serious was about to happen. We got access to the deeper files from Nova Systems, she said. Hamilton wasn't working alone. He was part of a global ring. Ex-military, tech heads, shadow operatives. They called themselves the Veiled Order. Keanu narrowed his eyes. How far does it go? Danica sighed. Too far. But here's the good news. Because of Malik's sketch and testimony, we've made 6 arrests in 4 countries. We're closing the web. Malik's mother gasped. 6? Danica nodded. And more are coming. Malik didn't just stop one plan. He started a chain reaction. He gave us a map. Malik blinked. Just by drawing? Danica smiled. Sometimes, the truth is hiding in plain sight. All it takes is someone to notice the shape of it. Malik glanced down at his hands, still unsure of the power he held, but Danica wasn't finished. We also got a call. The National Safety Commission wants to speak to you, Malik. They're thinking of starting a new program, training young eyes to spot early warning signs, and they want you to help design it. His jaw dropped. Me? You, she confirmed. Keanu clapped a hand gently on Malik's shoulder. I think the world just gave you a front row seat. Days later, Malik stood on a quiet stage in Washington, D.C., beside his mother and Keanu. Cameras flashed, but he didn't flinch. Officials from around the world sat in their seats, waiting. He stepped forward to the podium, gripping the edges, gently. He looked out at the crowd. Most were older than him, stronger, bigger. But he had something they didn't, a voice that had already saved lives. I'm not a hero, Malik said simply. I was just paying attention. The world is full of noise. Sometimes we have to stop and really look because danger doesn't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears a uniform. The room held its breath. I spoke up because no one else would. And yeah, I was scared. But I'd rather be scared and alive than silent and sorry. People leaned forward in their chairs. You don't have to be famous, or rich, or a grown-up. Sometimes all it takes is one voice, one warning, one kid. The room erupted into applause. But Malik didn't smile for the cameras. He smiled because he saw his mother's tears. He saw Keanu's proud nod. He saw Danica in the back of the room giving him a quiet salute. Later that night, back in their hotel suite, Malik and Keanu sat side by side watching the news replay the speech. What now? Malik asked. Keanu leaned back, thoughtful. Now, you live your life. Stay curious. Keep looking at the world the way you do. Because that gift you have, it's rare. Malik looked down. I don't want to be famous. I just want to help people. Keanu smiled. Then you're already doing, right? Suddenly Malik's phone buzzed. A message popped up from an unknown number. He froze. Keanu noticed. What is it? Malik read the message out loud. You spoke. We heard. And some of us want to help you see even more. Call this number. Only if you're ready. Keanu reached for the phone. Let's trace it first, he said calmly. Danica arrived within 20 minutes. They ran the trace. It wasn't a threat. It was a message from a security group inside an international peacekeeping agency. They had been following Malik's case closely. They wanted to offer him something new. Training. Mentorship. A way to grow his gift. Malik's mother cried again, but this time it was different. Because her son, the little boy who once whispered ideas into a notebook in silence, was now the loudest voice in the room, and the world was listening. 1 month later, a different airport, a different flight, Keanu Reeves waited in the boarding line with a warm drink in hand. He turned to see a familiar figure walking down the concourse, carrying a bag and a brand new passport. Malik, Keanu called out. The boy turned, smiled, wide, and ran toward him. You ready? Keanu asked. Malik nodded. Always. As they boarded the plane together, the flight attendant greeted them with a smile. Malik looked out the window, eyes scanning every inch of the runway. Not because he was afraid, but because he had learned something the world had almost forgotten, that sometimes the smallest voice can carry the greatest power, and that one brave moment can save the lives of many.